What is going on, guys? I just got some exciting news today that we have a new Amon trailer. Gearbox is finally showing off Amon, and yeah, let's talk about it. So in this trailer, they did show off all the action skills and how they visually look in the game. Now, you might have heard or seen a few of the action skills at the Bilibili event in China, but in this trailer, they show them all off. And I gotta say, they are looking really good, and I'm just gonna say right now, Amon's my pick for release day. I'm playing him. Sorry, Rafa, you'll be second. Alright, right off the bat, they present Amon like Doomslayer. There's metal music in the background. He's on a bike, he runs over an enemy. The vibes are good. And then they proceed to do the 3 action skills that Amon has. Dual wielding fire and cryo axes, shield and cryo whip, and fiery punch. For the double axe action skill, this is going to be the green tree action skill. It is called Crucible, and this is going to be your fire and cryo axe. Basically, when you press action skill, you pull out 2 axes, and then your choice is to throw the fire one or the cryo one. Now, at the Bilibili event in China, they did show off the skill trees, but they were all Chinese. And we did our best to translate a lot of them, but a lot of it didn't make sense. But it was mentioned in the green tree you can change your axes to hammers. So they do give you access for shock element, which is quite nice for build diversity. And you might notice that the enemies are exploding after they die. That is because the Crucible skill, when you kill an enemy, they detonate, they explode. Moving on here, for the blue tree action skill, we have Scourge, and that's going to be your giant shield. And it seems to work exactly like how Zane's barrier works. You can hold it, you can see through it, you can shoot through it. So that's going to be your defensive option, but this action skill also gives you a offensive option too. You can bust out a cryo whip and whip into the air and it will shoot a projectile through. And this cryo projectile has piercing too. Also at the very end, I don't know if this is like an augment or something else, but you can do a wide shot here with your cryo whip. And it has a really big area of effect. It kind of reminds me of the Cutsman's like bullet pattern. You just have that wide line. So if you have a bunch of enemies in front of you, take advantage of this. That isn't it though. We are playing Amon the Forge Knight. That's right, he can forge more than axes and hammers. You can also use an augment to forge your action skill into a shock spear. So this is replacing your whip with a spear instead. They didn't really show off a lot of it, so I don't know if the spear has like better range, like maybe you can chuck it like a lot further. And it did seem to one-shot the enemies in this trailer, but we don't know if they're playing like a level 50 character versus level like 5 enemies. So we're not going to look too far into that. Also, one thing to keep in mind is when you're using your spear or your whip, you put down your defensive shield for a second, so just know that, you don't have the shield up at all times. Oh, also, according to the capstones in the Chinese skill trees, we can forge a giant shock sword. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. So if the translations are correct, you hold the action skill button if you have this capstone, you summon giant shock sword. That is pretty awesome. And with that, you can see Amon holding a ordnance weapon while the shield is still up. And according to the skill trees, when you shoot through this, you will get bonus damage and projectile speed. And your teammates can utilize it too. They can shoot through it and get the same bonuses. Co-op friendly. I like it. As for the ordnance weapon Amon is using, we don't know at this point in time if this is a weapon skin or unique legendary. We'll figure that out later on. Here's a better example of the detonation thing I was talking about for the green tree earlier, Crucible action skill, double axes. You can see the enemy is impaled with a cryo axe, and as he dies, he will explode into a cryonova. Moving on here, I am super happy to see this, but your giant, bigger bosses, mini bosses, enemies, it seems that some of them can freeze solid, which is good to see. In the previous games in the franchise, a lot of bigger enemies could not freeze solid, which was kind of annoying. But in this case, this giant elephant creature thing did freeze solid. Moving on, we see the 3rd action skill called Onslaught, and we've seen this a little bit in the trailers in the past, but they haven't really shown it off in full detail. And this is going to be your fiery punch. So you dash at the enemy, get a fiery punch, and this can be used multiple times during one usage of the action skill. This action skill is really cool because not only is it offensive, but it's also movement tech too. You get the dash at the enemy from a pretty reasonable distance, and obviously it does damage too. Now, one thing I'm really interested in is if this will also work if you're out of combat. Let's say I'm in an area where I can't summon my car out, and I want to get from point A to point B. Can I just spam this and move along fast? I hope so, that'd be cool. Now, what's interesting about the red tree is you can also forge swords too. And this sword is different from the one earlier, but you can see it is a shock sword. He swipes the air, it puts out a AoE moving line, and delivers the shock damage. Next up, he does that fiery punch attack, but this time it's converted to shock damage. I'm assuming this is one of the augments, so instead of dashing at the enemy and doing a fiery punch, you put out a shock piercing wave, and it seems like it does have a good AoE on that. Finally, they saved the best for last, and you can see here we have a fire sword and shock sword. And I'm assuming this is one of the augments or capstones for Amon. So if you hold the action skill button during your action skill, you can deliver this massive blow, and it will summon a bunch of swords that fly into the enemy. Going back to blue tree with the shield and the whip, one of the augments or capstones will allow you to summon a glacier wave, and it will do cryo damage and pierce through the battlefield. Also for the blue tree, this is something I'm really excited for. If you're familiar with Athena from the pre-sequel, you might know that she can ricochet her shield around. Yeah, Amon can do that too. Amon throws the defensive shield and makes it offensive, hits the enemy and it ricochets towards something, but it just hits a wall and kind of explodes. But in the Chinese translated skill trees, it was said that you can ricochet your shield around the battlefield. Also, you might notice it starts as cryo, hits the enemy, but turns into fire right after it ricochets. So I don't know if like per bounce it's changing between the elements of fire and cryo, but either way, pretty cool and happy to see it. We get to see the sword storm again, but this time it's not fire damage, but shock damage. So you can pick and choose what element you want for your blades. And then right here, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but it could be like one of Amon's fiery drones. Something flies out as a projectile, hits the ground and explodes. Now, this could just be a normal grenade throw animation, or it could be something with his fire forge drone. Either way, nothing crazy, it just hits the ground and enemies die. Alright, check this out. This is something really cool, but we have a forging ability. And referring to the Chinese translated skill trees for Amon, we don't know if this is the trait for Amon, but we do know that you can snap your weapons together into one weapon. In this case, he snapped together his two swords and threw a giant sword. It spins down the battlefield, hits the enemies, and everything just kind of dies. Also, gotta point out, look at this area of effect. It is massive. At the very end, Amon pulls out a fire hammer, slams it into the ground, and the trailer ends. This ability was confirmed during the Bilibili event gameplay, and this is going to be holding the action skill button during your fire punch action skill, and it will allow you to deliver a big, massive hammer blow. But it has a really long cooldown, so this is going to be something you save for when you really need it. And that ends the trailer. I don't know about you guys, but Amon is looking extremely good, and it's going to be my pick for day one. I don't know what it is, but I'm always drawn towards the brute characters. I played Brick and Beal 1 first. Eventually, Salvador became my favorite in Borderlands 2. Yeah, the playstyle looks fun, a lot of weapon choices, elemental mixing, forging stuff together. You have a shield, defensive, weapons, offensive. This guy seems to have like everything, and I'm all for it. One more thing I want to mention before we end the video is that Amon seems to have access to every element except for radiation and corrosive for the skill trees. He is all cryo, fire, and shock. That's it. Anyways, I'm super excited for Amon. Let me know below in the comments what you guys think about him. And let me know if he's going to be your first pick for Borderlands 4. Anyways, you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.